What other things, like you mentioned cutting corners, when you say that, is that just in terms of the decor?
Not just the decor, like you've got, I think getting everyone down on point there, putting the right colours in, as you say, decor, getting the property refurbed to a really good standard. It's got to stick out for the rest. So for 3 or 4 Airbnbs in your or short-term lets in the area, one's yours and 3 are different companies, you want that to look better than they 3. Because if somebody's going online and looking at the photos, whether it be Airbnb or Book.com, Expedia, Travel Scotland, all these platforms that we put our properties onto, you want your property to stand out. You know what it's like when you're looking for a holiday. You're jumping online, you're going, oh, that looks great. So that's what you need to make your property look like. And that all comes down to getting the right colours on the walls, the right flooring, the right furniture, the right kitchen and bathrooms in there. Don't just put a standard kitchen and bathroom in. It's got to be kind of higher end than a buy-to-let. So all these wee nitty-picky things need to be good. And again, it comes down to, you just put it on Airbnb and hope for the best. You do get a lot of people that will just go, right, I'll just do a standard renovation there. Yep. But their standard renovation and my higher end renovation, I'm going to get more occupancy rate than them. You know? Yep.
In terms of, like, what difference would that be in cost between a standard refurb and a high-end refurb? In terms of, like, if you were to put a percentage on it, you're going to be spending like 5% more, 20% more, 100% more?
Depending on the area and what you're trying to achieve with it, I think. If you're going to just, if it's predominantly for contractors, I wouldn't go and do a high-end holiday let standard renovation. A wee bit more less maybe, because contractors are just in there to have for somewhere to stay. You know, they're out working all day. Yeah. Whereas if we've got the one that we've got up in the bay, looks on the bridges, that's done a wee bit more better standard because of where it is and what we're going to be using it for.
Yep. And what would you say, like I see a lot of tools, technology-based tools. Now, you know how ingrained I get into data. Like, you know, I get into like the granular detail. Yeah. What do you think of these tools that predict what people will get if they do this?
So you on about like the extensions and stuff you get on Google and stuff like that if you're looking at a property or you're on Airbnb, it'll come up and tell you the analytics of occupancy rates and stuff like that. What a lot of crap. What a lot of crap. The best data that you can get is the data on the ground, the properties that you've got in the areas. You're looking at them, they're doing well. You're looking at other ones that are doing well in that area. That's the best data.
Well, the one that comes to mind is, I was explaining this to Irish Dave, who's on my podcast. Now, Irish Dave, by his own admission, is not academic, right? It would be foolish to call him thick because he's extremely intuitive, but just academically never got a shot at school, and he just knew that he was going to be a guy that would work with his hands. He's very intuitive. So his intelligence wouldn't be measured in our academic form. And he was asking me, he says, like, how do you work out, like, how do you work this out? So I was showing him how you could, like, most people try and work it out. And then I was showing him why that doesn't work. And it blew his mind.
Yeah.
And he can follow it because I'm explaining to him, I was like, well, here's this provider. And it was the same provider that provided the information on the Scottish government framework, which was a joke. The paperwork, their framework for regulation was a farce. And they were using incomplete data from one of the providers. And I knew that it was incomplete. And the reason that I knew that it was incomplete was I knew how they collected their data, of which they produced these numbers from. And I compared it to real data that we have where we go, oh, this is only a partial picture. And you go, oh, I'm not getting the full picture here. And even Irish David says, he's like, so you're not getting to see the full thing? I'm like, no. Yeah. He's like, so how would people do it? I was like, because they need to, if they understood that this thing was only some of the picture, but what they're doing is they're treating it as like the whole picture. And we've certainly seen, in terms of what information that they give, they tend to aim on the high side. So you can imagine what that means is that if someone's searching, well, I've got this property in this area, what might it do?
Yeah.
And it comes up with numbers that are just not connected to reality.
No.
And they go, well, I can, just buy a property, put it in Airbnb, and then there's a tumbleweed going by the door. Why am I not getting the 357 quid a night that the data told me I would get? And it's like, well, because it's incomplete, inaccurate, it's based on a whole area, not a specific area, that it's only collected from certain online travel agencies and not them all. It doesn't show an accurate representation of real occupancy because it's not collected all the data, and you're getting this skewed information.
If you can remember right at the start, we tried it with our own properties first as well. Instead of just going out and telling an investor, oh, I'll make £200 a night and it'll be 90% occupancy rate for 12 months, which a lot of people will do. Or they'll look at these daft data things online and stuff. They'll send them over the data, which aren't true. So the good thing about what we tried it with some of our own properties first just to see how it would work. And as you know, some of them done. Well,
I'm not naming the areas, but there's areas in, like, this is what happens is if you look at how the data is proportioned, what, like, you've got some tech geek somewhere who's got an IQ about 200 billion, right, who's sitting there on a computer working out some algorithmic calculations that plugs into this super duper computer that pumps out all this information, right? But if you grab that guy from wherever he is in whatever basement he works in, right, and you says, listen, Jim, come over here, right? We could take him to a point in Glasgow, and in Glasgow you could have this property doing 300 quid a night, right? And 75 yards away is fucking Baghdad, and you've got better chances of surviving. Like, you have got literally one of the roughest parts that's 75 yards away from one of the best parts. But he's there working out a map around this area called Glasgow and averaging it out using his algorithmic data, and they're like, nah. Like, this isn't going to work here, because you need to know how this thing's made up. And it's that lack of it doesn't hit the mark, and you can see how people fall into the trap.
We're in a great position now where we've got that many properties in a lot of different areas, some 2 or 3 properties in the same area. So if I see a deal online or whatever, and the first thing I'm doing is going, right,
what have we got in the area?
Right, what have I got 5 mile radius for that? How are they 4 of them performing? Punch the numbers into the sheet and it'll come up green or red if it works or not.
Well, that's been part of your parabolic rise, is that because we done this first with our own stuff, like, we went out and tested it. So when you're speaking to an investor and the investor's going, can this work? And you're like, right, here's the sheet for the property 2.3 miles away that we have and have run for this amount of months. There's the numbers. And they're not looking at, predictions based on data, based on, Jim the geek in, a Minnesota basement under an LED light plugging algorithms, and he doesn't know Postle if he bears then.
Definitely.
And he's like, all right, okay. So that when you show them something like that, they go, okay, I get it.
Show them real stuff on the ground. It was like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think it was. It was a property close to one of the Edinburgh ones that we've got, and I was showing the investor the numbers, and I was showing him the property. He's like it was like £200 a night I was putting in it. That was me going low with it, and I'm going, like, these are the numbers. This is the property. What do you think? He's like, how the hell can you make that money in that property there? There's no chance it can happen. So what I done was I went on and pulled all the data for 2 properties that we've got there, and I was like, see this property here. See in August last month, the first month that we put it up, at £250, £300 a night.